Okay, so why is it always the last few episodes that become really interesting? But anyway, this is my Ahsoka episode 6 review. And we start off where we ended the last episode where Hayum Hu Yang, why do I do that? I constantly do that. Hu Yang and Ahsoka are riding in the whale, and even though his teeth are closed, it seems like they have a unobstructed view of the cosmos. It's very, very weird. But anyway, that could just be a goof. But anyway, so they're talking, and um, Ahsoka admits that she didn't tell Hera that what she saw when she grabbed the map was that Sabine had willingly left with the bad guys. And Hu Yang at first is he questions it. He doesn't want to believe that Sabine would go to the dark side. But then he realizes that when talking with Ahsoka, because Ahsoka's down about how, she should have worked harder to teach Sabine to make the right choice, because even she didn't like the fact that would mean that they would never see Ezra again. But Hu Yang made her see that was Sabine's only choice because she cares about Ezra that much. And I have to admit, I'm loving that these two are so committed to each other, Ezra and Sabine, and it's a completely platonic relationship. You don't normally see that in shows or in the movies. You normally, if someone loves each other this much, they get shipped, and then people get super pissed when their ship doesn't happen, because obviously that is the only way men and women can have these strong feelings for one another. But anyway, so then Ahsoka decides that yes, she does want to hear one of Hu Yang's stories, even though she's probably heard them all a million times. And he starts off with long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, which is the way Star Wars starts. That's just the way the saga starts everything. And so it makes you wonder if these are his stories. But anyway, so I thought it was kind of cool. And even the episode is called Far, Far Away because that's where they're going, far, far away. They're going to another galaxy. And I heard it suggested that it could have been our galaxy. Turns out it isn't, but I don't know if I would have liked that. Because on the one hand, it would have been cool to see what era they would turn up in. On the other hand, it's so annoying to have so many shows that become not necessarily Earth-centric, but that Earth has to play some sort of role in it. We don't need to be the center of everything. It's fine. So, as they're going, and apparently even though they're going through hyperspace, they're still taking a damn long time. Because, now granted, Morgan Elsbeth did have a jump start. She did have a very long head start. But still, you would think that the Purgles could, go faster, but anyway. And I also noticed that that whole ring was the ship. I was under the impression that that ring was just a portal to get into hyperspace really fast and get to this, sort of like a artificial wormhole or something. So, but no, it's their ship. So, Sabine is in prison and she's getting annoyed and she just keeps telling Balin. Actually, that's her whole dialogue in like the first third of the show is we had a deal. Now, it's not that Balin was reneging on his deal. It was that, well, he doesn't know where Ezra is either. And I don't know why Sabine was under the impression he did know. I mean, he said he was going to take her to, to where he is. But that's not the same as I know exactly where he is because I'm not sure why she thinks he knows. Yes, he's a very strong Force user, but I'm not sure where you get this idea that he totally knows where Ezra is. He just made a deal that, he would help her and he is helping her. It's just not in the way that she wanted. So there is a moment where she's sitting on the bridge because they're getting close to Peridia, and her and Shin are just having a stare down. Just in case you weren't aware that they hate each other's guts. Just to remind you that they are not friends. Which makes what happens later very interesting and says a lot about Shin. But anyway, so they land on Peridia, and the Night, Morgan Elsbeth, who is a Night Sister, meets the Night Mothers. Now, I wonder if any of them are biologically her actual mother, or it's just older witches who have that title. But anyway, basically wondering how Night Sisters are made, because she said that they come from this world. They come from Peridia, and they rode the Purgles back to the main galaxy. And so apparently she's kept in touch with the Night Mothers. I assume through the Force somehow. But anyway, so she's kept in touch with the Night Mothers, and they immediately peg Sabine as Jedi. They say, I sense Jedi on that thing. And Sabine is like, huh? What? Me? Which is true, because she's not a Jedi. I mean, she's training, but as far as when it comes to the Force, she totally sucks. So I'm not sure why they're getting whiffs of Jedi from her and not from, say, Balin, who at this point is just as much of a Jedi as Sabine is. But, so they take her away to Solitude because they don't want her around. And she just keeps repeating that they had a deal. And you can see on Balin's face, he's like, oh, this is not going the way I wanted it to. Not necessarily that he cares about Sabine, but that he cares about the fact that, yes, they made a deal and things are not going the way he wanted them to or expected them to. So, they get ready to have Thrawn come. And at first, when you saw a ship leave and just Shin and Balin were there, I honestly thought they were alone and that the Night Mothers and Morgan Elsbeth actually left. But no, that isn't what happened. But they had this talk. Shin thought, okay, we're going to meet Thrawn. This is going to be great. We're going to get all this power. And Balin's like, no, that's actually not the power I'm talking about, because that power is fleeting. I want to stop this cycle of the Jedi getting powerful and then losing to the Empire, rinse and repeat. So, and Shin's basically looking at him like, but you said, why aren't you telling me? What are you holding back? Why aren't you telling me what's going on? So she's getting a bit frustrated with Balin, which can't blame the kid. And so then Sabine tries to use the Force again. And they cut this in such a way to make it seem like she was actually accomplishing something. But then even she opens her eyes and she's like, wait, this is not me. And she looks outside and it's Thrawn's ship. So Thrawn gets out of his ship and he immediately does not trust Balin and Shin. Not because they're mercenaries, but because Balin used to be General Balin of the Clone Wars. So he's aware of Balin, and he knows he used to be a Jedi. So right then and there, he's untrustworthy. Because apparently once a Jedi, always a Jedi, I guess. Anyway. So Balin lets Thrawn know about Sabine. And he's familiar with the name of Sabine because of the Clone Wars and Rebels and all that. Actually, I think just Rebels. So he's familiar with Sabine, and he's like, you're probably right. We probably could use her. So, and he tells Thrawn about his deal with Sabine. So they release Sabine, and she's like, what, you're gonna just let me go like that? And Thrawn is like, well, yeah, you're willing to doom your own galaxy just for one guy, just for your friend. So I can understand why there are a lot of people who think that Sabine has the hots for Ezra, because it seems a little over and beyond how a friend would react. But no, good friends would react that way, just like a family member would. And if you consider that person like a family member, yeah, you would do that. But I can also see why some people just don't get it. So they give her, and there's all these stormtroopers, which it's like, okay, how does he have all these stormtroopers and Ezra was able to defeat him? Well, what I'm hearing is that they're zombie troopers or night troopers, that they're part of the Night Mother's army of the living dead. And so they give Sabine this, I guess, a pack animal to ride. And I don't know if they actually taught her, the commands in whatever language it was, because Sabine had no problems communicating with this thing. And I think it's because she was using the Force. She seems to do better with the Force when she's not trying. If that is what's happening, because how else can they understand each other? Because, I mean, they're in an entirely different galaxy. Of course, they wouldn't be able to understand her. So they go off, and the nomads that one of the stormtroopers warned Sabine about attacks her, and she goes full on Mandalorian on them. It took a second. She was having issues, but if you recall, Mando usually gets hit a lot, so it's not like this is unusual. But luckily, she's wearing her Beskar, which I wasn't sure about because she was always covered up. The Beskar was always covered up, so I didn't know if she was still wearing it. So, and the animal takes off. So after all is said and done, and her device no longer works because it was destroyed by when she was fighting the nomads, the pack animal comes back and she's like, "Oh, now you want to help? You ditched me." And so she was trying to send him away, and he's like, "Nope, nope, nope, not going back. I want to stick with Sabine." So he runs back, which was super cute. And so they're having this discussion. It seems like a one-way discussion, but it seems like Sabine understands what he is saying. I assume it's a he. And so that's why I'm thinking it has to be the Force, because how else would that happen? I mean, it's possible that she's just so in tune to animals in general that she just has an idea of how they react. So this animal smells something. So first it goes to get a drink, which annoys Sabine just slightly. And then he goes to a rock. And Sabine is very annoyed at this point. And it turns out that that this rock turns out to be actually, it looks like a snail-like being, but they're people. And they recognize, at first they're scared shitless because of the pack animal that she has with her. And she's like, "Dude, leave them alone." And they recognize the insignia on her breast, on her shoulder. I know what my body parts are. So they recognize the signet on her shoulder. And she's like, "I'm looking for my friend Ezra Bridger." And as this is happening, Balin and Shin come across the bloodbath that is the fight between Sabine and the nomads horribly flailing. So Balin's like, "Okay, obviously Sabine was here." and she fought the nomads, and that she's on her way to finding Ezra Bridger. Now Thrawn wants them to follow her and kill both her and Ezra Bridger when they find her. Well, actually, he said that I wouldn't care if you did, but he kind of wants that to happen. And Shin was like, "Wait, what about your agreement with Sabine?" Well, technically that the agreement will be concluded. It'll be made after, because you'll have found Ezra. He never actually said that they would survive their meeting. But this doesn't sit well with Shin. So, and that's what I meant when I said about Shin's honor. Because even though she does not like Sabine one whit, she appreciates that they made a deal and that they were going to let her find her friend. They were going to, do whatever it is they're doing. Now, it could be simply that she's naive and she doesn't understand what would happen if Ezra was back in the picture. But I think it's very sweet that she actually cared about honoring this agreement rather than, going after them. But, Balin is just giving her vague ideas like, I want to stop the cycle, and this great power has drawn me here, but he's not telling her shit. So that's why she seems, I guess, excited to meet Ezra. Because number one, it'll be a new person that she could potentially befriend. Because I'm sure that because she's Balin's apprentice, she probably doesn't know many people. Anyone that she would consider a friend anyway. So she seemed excited to meet another Jedi. And Balin lets her know that he did not teach her to be a Jedi, train her to be a Jedi, but something more. So they keep going, and that's the last we see of them. We see them looking up at the enemy of my enemy. So we don't know who they are, they just look like samurai. And that's the last we see of them. And now it's a matter of who is going to get back to Thrawn's ship so they won't get stranded on Peridia. Because apparently this is also a Purgle graveyard. So I guess the only time they come back is when they're about to die. Even though Thrawn did say, because he found out that Ahsoka is still alive and she's coming to Peridia. And he's like, wait, Balin said she was dead. But he used to be a Jedi, so he could be lying. Instead of, now he knows what Morgan Elsbeth can do. He knows what the Knight's mothers can do. Why is he assuming that the only answer could be Balin is lying? Which he's not. He honestly thought he killed Ahsoka. But it couldn't be some forced shenanigans. Like, say, with Anakin. And he wants to know everything, like who her master is and everything about her. I'm sure that's going to throw him for a loop when he finds out Ahsoka's master was Anakin. I'm sure that'll just throw a wrench in all the works. But, so Sabine follows these snail people. I think they're called Noti. She follows them and she's seeing this nice little camp with, parents taking care of their young ones, and you can see that she finds this all sweet. So she's walking and she still wants to know, okay, this is all great, but where's Ezra? And he's suddenly behind her. And he goes, I knew I could count on you. And so he's excited to be able to finally go home, but she won't tell him how she got there. And obviously she won't tell him because that's going to be a serious downer when he finds out that the reason she got there was because she made a deal with bad guys. And not only did she make a deal with the bad guys, but the only way they can get back home is if they hitch a ride with the very person that Ezra sacrificed himself to get rid of. So, yeah, I'm sure Ezra's going to be super thrilled to find this out if and when Sabine actually bothers to say something. because so far she's telling him nothing. She's not saying anything about that. She's not saying anything about Ahsoka. And it's like, yeah, that's going to come to bite her in the ass. Because holding things in never, ever goes well. As well they shouldn't. Because, come on. Now, I doubt Ezra would do anything rash like, abandon her on Peridia or something. But he's not going to be happy. He's not going to be happy at all. So, and now he's having everybody pack up and leave because apparently they do that every so often, that they're never in one place at the same for a long amount of time. Now, whether the Noti are already like that or if they are doing this to help Ezra. But given how strong it sounds like he is in the Force, I'm going to say he could easily mask himself. And that's why Thrawn never found him, because Thrawn could never, get a reading on Ezra because he was masking himself. So it ends with that. So you know that they're going to meet up with Baylan and Shin and those samurai-looking dudes. And there's going to be a fight. Now, how it's going to end is a different story. I'm pretty sure it's going to end with Ezra and Sabine living. Possibly Baylan and Shin. But everyone else, it's up in the air. Because it doesn't seem like those Noti are warriors. They're just a bunch of nomads who go from place to place, and settle down, move after a while, settle down, and, that they're not, they're very peaceful people. So, I worry about them. I really do. And then we have to have Ahsoka finally show up on Peridia. Finally show up and either take on Thrawn or, do something. And who knows, maybe they'll be able to all hitch a ride in the Jedi Star Cruiser inside the mouth of a Purgle that's going back to their galaxy. I mean, I guess that's possible. So, now we know a little bit more about what Baylan wants. And we know that he's not exactly a fan of Thrawn, and Thrawn is definitely not a fan of him. But we still don't know exactly what he has up his sleeve. Just that Shin is getting very, very frustrated with Baylan that he's not telling her what the hell's going on. I mean, yes, she's young, but she's not that young. And, I mean, Grogu is a freaking baby, and he's told more shit than Baylan has told Shin. Let's see if there's anything else I've missed on this episode. I don't believe so. I think I covered this episode. So with that, I will see you guys in the next one.